This car is clearly out of your league.
Excuse me?
You heard me. Hey, are you alright?
No, someone just said something really mean.
I'm sorry, don't listen to them.
Rain fell steadily as grey clouds pressed low over the city, casting a dull reflection across the glass walls of the luxury car dealership. Inside, polished floors gleamed beneath bright lights, untouched by the cold outside. A single mother named Melissa stepped through the doors, her coat damp, her shoulders tense, but her eyes focused. She moved carefully, aware that she did not belong to this world of suits and chrome. Her shoes were worn, her clothes simple, yet her purpose was clear. Around her, conversations slowed. Salesmen glanced up, then away, their smiles fading. No one greeted her. In that quiet moment, an unspoken judgment filled the air, and a feeling lingered that this visit would change everything forever. Melissa's life had not always been defined by struggle, but everything changed after her divorce. She chose peace over privilege, walking away with her dignity and her young son. Raising him alone meant long nights, early mornings, and constant worry. She worked 2 jobs, saved every extra dollar, and learned to live without help. Bills were planned down to the last cent, and mistakes were not an option. Her old car had carried her through years of sacrifice, but now it could barely start. A new job opportunity promised stability, yet required reliable transportation. That was why she came today. Not for luxury, not for attention, but for a dependable vehicle that could protect her future and her child's safety. Every decision she made now carried weight, shaping the path ahead and testing her strength daily without rest or mercy. Inside the showroom, minutes passed without acknowledgement. Melissa stood near a row of gleaming sedans, hands folded, waiting patiently. Salesmen gathered behind a desk, whispering and laughing softly while glancing in her direction. One shook his head, another smirked. Though their words were quiet, their meaning felt loud. Still, Melissa remained polite, refusing to show discomfort. She reminded herself why she was there and stayed calm. The longer she waited, the clearer the message became. She was not welcome. Each ignored step and careless glance tightened the knot in her chest, turning hope into frustration and slowly sharpening the unfairness of the moment. The silence felt intentional, as if her presence alone had already decided the outcome before she spoke without respect, compassion, fairness, or basic courtesy from anyone nearby. Eventually, a salesman approached, his smile thin and rehearsed. His eyes scanned her clothes before she finished speaking. He asked about her budget, then cut her off with a short laugh. He explained loudly that the dealership specialized in high-end buyers and suggested she try somewhere cheaper. Nearby customers turned to watch. Melissa felt heat rush to her face, but she stood her ground. The salesman waved over a manager, who nodded without listening. Security was called under the excuse of company policy. As she was escorted toward the door, whispers followed her. With every step outside, dignity slipped away, and the humiliation reached its peak the moment the glass doors closed behind her. No apology came, no explanation offered, only cold procedure replacing empathy, making the rejection feel deliberate, final, and painfully public. She walked away, knowing something inside her had changed forever. Quietly, but completely. Beyond repair today. Outside, rain soaked the sidewalk as Melissa paused, breathing deeply. Tears threatened, but she refused to let them fall there. The shame hurt, yet beneath it grew a steady determination. At home, her son waited, trusting her strength without question. She thought of his smile and the promises she made to protect him. This moment would not define her worth. Still, the weight of what happened settled heavily on her chest. She started walking, unsure of what tomorrow would bring, but certain the story was not over. Somewhere ahead, unseen consequences were already moving toward those doors. The quiet ending felt temporary, like a pause before truth returned with force, clarity, and unexpected justice that would rewrite everything she knew. Melissa carried a past few people knew about. Years earlier, she had been married to Anthony Lennox, a man whose name quietly commanded boardrooms and industries. Their marriage ended without scandals or headlines, only a calm agreement that love alone could not survive different paths. When they separated, Melissa chose independence over comfort. Refusing wealth she did not earn herself. She wanted her son to grow up seeing strength, not dependence. Since then, she lived simply, never mentioning who she once shared a life with. Standing in the rain that day, she never imagined that past would matter again. Yet the truth lingered like a shadow, and the humiliation inside the dealership would not remain unanswered. Consequences were already forming beyond her sight. That night, Melissa sat at the small kitchen table with her son, helping him finish homework while dinner cooled nearby. The house was quiet, safe, and honest. When he asked why she looked sad, her strength finally cracked. She told him about the dealership, the laughter, and the way she was treated. Her voice shook, and tears fell freely this time. Her son listened carefully, then held her hand and reminded her she was strong. After he went to bed, Melissa stared at her phone, unsure why she felt someone needed to know. She didn't call anyone, but somewhere far away, the truth was already traveling, preparing to reach a man who still cared more than she realized. The night felt heavy, full of silence, waiting for consequences to arrive in ways she could imagine. The phone rang unexpectedly as Melissa washed dishes. The sound sharp in the quiet room. The number was familiar, but unplanned. Anthony Lennox spoke calmly, his tone polite and distant, asking how she was managing. They exchanged brief updates, careful and restrained. Then he asked about her day. Melissa hesitated, then told him everything. She described the dealership, the words spoken, and how she was escorted out. Silence followed. When Anthony finally spoke again, his voice had changed. It was slower, firmer, and controlled. He asked for the name of the dealership. In that moment, the story shifted. This was no longer just her burden. Something powerful had been awakened, and the path forward would not be quiet or forgiving. That single call marked the true turning point, from pain to action. From silence to consequence that was unavoidable now. Anthony Lennox was not just wealthy. He was influential. His companies supplied vehicles, parts, and funding to dealerships nationwide. Contracts carried his signature, and decisions followed his approval. He listened carefully, saying little, but his resolve was clear. Disrespect toward Melissa was not a personal insult alone. It was a violation of values he enforced across his business. Calmly, he decided to act. There would be no shouting, no threats, only consequences delivered with precision. He scheduled a visit for the next morning, knowing his presence alone would change everything. As night passed, the tension grew. What waited at the dealership would not be anger, but accountability, and it would arrive without warning. The plan was simple, firm, and impossible to stop once it began moving forward at dawn sharp. The next morning, Crestline Motors opened as usual. Sales staff laughed over coffee and joked about the woman from the previous day. Confidence filled the room, untouched by guilt or concern. The same salesman boasted about expensive commissions, while managers reviewed numbers. No one sensed danger. Outside, the sky was clear and traffic moved normally. Inside, arrogance ruled. It felt like an ordinary start to an ordinary day. Yet beneath the polished floors and smiling faces, something unseen was approaching. The calm felt fragile, like glass stretched to thin. Every second passed brought them closer to a moment that would shatter routines, reputations, and futures they believed were secure within moments of an unexpected arrival that changed everything forevermore. A deep engine hum broke the morning calm as a black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled into the lot. Sunlight reflected off flawless paint and chrome details. Conversations stopped. Laughter died instantly. Another luxury vehicle followed, then another. Doors opened slowly. Anthony Lennox stepped out, dressed sharply, his presence commanding immediate attention. His posture was relaxed, but his authority was unmistakable. Customers stared. Salesmen froze. No one spoke. He did not rush. Each step toward the entrance felt deliberate, heavy with meaning. The building itself seemed to hold its breath. By the time he reached the doors, tension filled every corner. The moment had arrived. Whatever happened next would leave no one untouched, and the silence spoke louder than words ever could. Fear, confusion, and disbelief spread among the staff instantly as they sensed consequences stepping through the entrance with calm certainty and unstoppable authority that demanded attention immediately from everyone. Anthony walked straight to the center of the showroom and addressed the staff clearly. He asked who was responsible for turning away a woman named Melissa. No one answered at first. Then he spoke again, louder, naming her as the mother of his child. Gasps echoed, faces drained of color. He explained that she had once been his wife, not as a threat, but as truth. He spoke of her strength, her honesty, and her worth beyond money. The room shifted. Those who mocked her now avoided his eyes. Fear replaced arrogance. Customers watched silently as the balance of power reversed. In that moment, Melissa was no longer invisible. Her value stood undeniable, and the humiliation from the day before collapsed under the weight of public truth. Employees felt exposed, realizing their actions carried permanent consequences. Whispers stopped, hearts raced, and authority had shifted completely, leaving no space for excuses or denial anymore under the harsh light of accountability alone. Anthony turned to his legal team and gave clear instructions. Contracts were terminated immediately. Inventory was ordered removed from the showroom. Phones rang as executives scrambled for answers. Managers panicked, voices shaking as they realized the damage was irreversible. Years of reputation collapsed in minutes. Employees stood frozen, understanding their actions had consequences beyond apology. There was no shouting, only quiet enforcement. Justice moved swiftly and without mercy. By the end of the hour, Crestline Motors was no longer protected by powerful partnerships. What remained was silence and regret. The lesson was unmistakable. Disrespect had cost them everything. The consequences were public, permanent, and deserved. No statement could undo the harm already done. The fallout spread quickly through industry circles, marking an end few expected to witness. From a single moment of careless judgment that morning, inside those walls alone, Anthony walked to the showrooms. Deskin instructed his legal team to arrange a vehicle for Melissa, fully paid and ready for her to choose. It was not charity, he explained, but a gesture of respect. The choice symbolized more than transportation. It represented recognition of her courage, independence, and dignity. The sales staff stood silently, unable to respond. The intern, who had witnessed the previous day's humiliation, smiled quietly in the corner, finally seeing fairness restored. Melissa's worth, once ignored, was now recognized in front of everyone who had doubted her. Anthony's calm, deliberate actions sent a clear message. Respect is not earned by appearance or wealth, but by character. In this moment, her value was undeniable, her place acknowledged, and the quiet triumph resonated throughout the room, leaving no doubt about who deserved respect and admiration. Later that afternoon, a brand new luxury SUV arrived outside Melissa's modest home. Her son, Elijah, ran to the curb, screaming with joy, his laughter echoing through the neighborhood. Melissa stood on the porch, hand pressed to her chest, speechless as she watched the gleaming car and polished keys presented by a professional driver. This was more than a vehicle, it was a symbol of her worth finally recognized, a tangible reminder that she had been seen and valued. Tears ran down her cheeks, but they were tears of relief and pride rather than shame. Elijah hugged her tightly, bouncing with excitement, while Melissa felt the weight of the past day lift. The victory was both practical and emotional, marking the moment she reclaimed her dignity, and finally, justice had arrived at her doorstep in the most visible, undeniable way possible. The intern shared the story online, capturing the humiliation, confrontation, and resolution in a single post. Within hours, the story went viral. Social media buzzed with outrage over the dealership's behavior. Apologies poured in from managers, journalists, and viewers alike. But Melissa remained calm, grounded in the quiet knowledge of her worth. She did not need public validation. The recognition of her dignity had already arrived. People admired her composure and courage, inspired by her ability to face humiliation and stand strong. Her story reminded others that injustice can be challenged, and strength lies not in retaliation, but in resilience. The viral moment emphasized respect over wealth and kindness over appearances. Melissa's story ended not with riches, but with clarity about true value. Respect, not money, defines a person's worth. The humiliation she endured highlighted how easily society judges based on appearance. But her perseverance and integrity revealed her true power. By standing strong, she reclaimed her dignity, proving that inner strength outweighs external circumstances. The billionaire's intervention reinforced the lesson. Fairness and recognition are earned through character, not prejudice. Her journey inspired others to challenge injustice while maintaining grace and self-respect. True wealth is measured by how we treat people and by the courage we show in adversity. In the end, Melissa's life stood as a testament to resilience, dignity, and the unshakable worth of those who refuse to be diminished.